In this video, you're going to learn how to shape audio transients, and I'm going to review Couture by Auburn Sounds. If you're here just for the transient shaping tutorial, then I will put the time code in the video description and in the pinned comment so you can skip right ahead of that. For right now, I want to show you guys the paid version of Couture, which Auburn Sounds was kind enough to send me a license. So thanks to them for that and for alerting me to their plugin, because otherwise I wouldn't have thought to do a transient shaping tutorial. So Auburn Sounds Couture is two plugins in one. On the left side is the transient shaping part, and then on the right here is distortion. And there are 6 types of distortion in this plugin. To make them more obvious, I turned the drive knob right here all the way up and put it on a synth. So let's take a listen as I click through the various saturation types. Okay, you might be thinking, Adam, I've heard saturation, distortion before. What makes this plugin special? Well, it's really simple. In the upper right corner here, and I will have to zoom into it because you can't see it, but it says level independent dynamics. Now, what does that mean? That means that instead of saturating this plugin like you normally would and increasing the volume of whatever you are processing, it will just process it and maintain the volume dynamics, which should retain most of the tone of whatever you're processing. And that's a very good thing. Let me go through the rest of them. I think I already did that one. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the plugin now. First of all, we need to define what transient shaping is.
Transient, a high amplitude, short duration sound at the beginning of a waveform that occurs in phenomena such as musical sounds, noises or speech. Shaping, gerund, to make something fit the form of something else.
In summary, it's all about manipulating the first part of a sound wave. And here's the cool thing about Couture. The transient shaper part of it is absolutely free, no strings attached. You don't have to create an account with them as of this recording, and it's available in both 32-bit and 64-bit VST2 audio units and AAX platforms. The officially supported operating systems are Windows Vista and newer, along with Mac OS 10.8 and newer. So, what makes this plugin so special? Just like the distortion part, the Transient Detector is half spectral, RMS based, 2-band, program dependent, and what all that technical jargon means is that when you alter the controls, there are a lot less surprises than with other transient shaper plugins. Once again, I'm going to shut up so that you can hear what this thing can do on a variety of different tracks. That's an example of mangling the audio. Okay, so this one's going to require me just to bypass this one because I already EQ'd it, and that wouldn't be fair. Okay, so if you can't really tell what's going on, basically the best way to describe it is we can either add to or remove the beginning of a sound, that transient. That's why it's called transient shaping. We could do a few other things with this plugin besides just that. We have a lot more control over it because the whole idea is that it is finding the exact middle of the highest amount of energy when it detects something. And the reason that these other controls matter, very important. Ready? So first of all, when you have it on the human setting, that is using an equal loudness curve, which means that it reacts like the human ear would react. Now, if you want it to behave like most other transient shapers, put it on the flat setting. And finally, if you want to use this as a de-esser plugin for voiceovers and vocals, then switch it to Sibil, which is shorthand for sibilance. Bass AMT stands for bass amount, and it controls how Couture reacts to bass frequencies. To the right, we have important controls, probably the most important controls, which is why I think they put it in silver, so it's easier to see. Maybe that's not why they did it, but I think it was a good graphic design decision. Anyway, you can limit this to 20 decibels of gain reduction or gain increase. So when it's lit up, it's on. And then we also have our sharpening knob, which controls how transients are shaped. Positive values are sharper. If the values are negative, then it softens transients. To the upper right here, we have the multiplier buttons, and this allows us to set more extreme settings. So if you aren't happy with X1 at the farthest clockwise setting, then you set it back to 12 o'clock, hit X2, and then adjust from there. And vice versa if you're going for negative values. All right, now speed is one that you kind of have to think about a little bit to understand, or kind of watch this meter. But what it does is how much time after the transient is detected does this get applied? Does this effect get applied? And our final control, all these controls are equally important, by the way, because depending on where you have it set is how the transient is going to be processed. And this control at the 12 o'clock position, it is spot on with, I believe, the highest part of the transient. But if you want to process it a little bit back from the peak of the transient so that you can then mess with the speed control and get a little bit before the maximum part of the transient, or if you want to mess with what's called the sustain, then you could add this all the way over here. But it's all about what it sounds like to your ear. And that's the biggest takeaway from this video, is that this is really not too different from compression. Meaning, although I can tell you what the controls do, you really just need to turn the knobs and press the buttons yourself. Because ultimately, it's all about trial and error. I hate saying it like that, but it's the truth. You need to just adjust and listen Sometimes I like to adjust and close my eyes and make sure I hold down shift so that it's a fine adjustment. But yeah, that's all I can say about that. The nice thing is Couture does have this meter and it does show you what's going on. But, you know, unfortunately, if I had one request, it would be that you can pause it. Because if I pause the track, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. But, you know, like I said, using your ears is the best way to use this plugin, and the great thing is the transient shaping part is free. And the way I look at this plugin is, even if you don't need distortion or saturation, if you like what this plugin does, buy it. Buy it to show your support for the company. The best way to learn how to use this is by using a snare drum recording. I wouldn't recommend snare drum samples, and the reason is because this detector, well, I'll just put it this way. If you're going to use samples, make sure you have some kind of low level, like negative 75 decibels full scale noise in there along with your sample, because otherwise this detection might not work properly at the more extreme settings. Many engineers would say that transient designers are essential sound modification tools, right next to equalizers, compressors, delay, and reverb. I would certainly agree with that. Now that I have messed around with transient shaping, I understand how powerful it can be. And one thing I didn't try this on, which you should, is a full mix, because if you're having trouble with your drums standing out, it may be able to help. So Couture can be used not just for creative reasons, but also it's a problem solver. The question is, should you buy it? Like I said earlier, if you like what it can do for shaping transients, then just to show your support for the company, I would purchase the full plugin, or they have a couple other plugins available right now that you may or may not like. So while you're on their website, I would check them out. And the great part is, no dongle required. It also installed without any problems. And when I had a technical problem with it, I got a very quick email response. So what's missing? Well, probably the biggest improvement that I like to see is GUI scaling. There are issues with using it. You know, there's some words that I can't read because they're just too tiny. So if they added in GUI scaling, that would fix my biggest complaint. Also, I don't know if it's super important even now, but VST3 support is something that most plugins should be aiming for, if possible. If not, then hey, you know. The only other thing I could think of is maybe in the manual put in better descriptions on what the saturation modes are. Like maybe some practical examples of where to use them. And also the latency of this plugin is high, so you're not going to be using it while recording. These are all minor issues in the grand scheme of things, because Auburn Sounds claim that this is the ultimate transient control is something I would agree with. It's so easy to use this plugin that it feels like cheating. So if you like saving time when mixing, you should definitely check it out. And if for some reason after you buy Couture you don't like it, they offer a 30 days money back guarantee. Thanks again to Couture's developer Guillaume for contacting me to do this review.
Thanks for watching this realhomerecording.com video. You can get monthly audio engineering news and exclusive videos by signing up for our newsletter. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up or thumbs down and consider subscribing. Have some questions? Feel free to ask them in the comment section below. If Adam has helped you produce better quality audio, then please consider becoming a monthly patron or donate via PayPal. Bye!